We're back.
We're back.
We're back. I beat you to it.
And
we're back.
And what they know probably is we didn't win the lottery.
We didn't win the lottery.
We didn't win the $2 million.
Yeah,
So
almost. Let's just call it $2 billion, right? $2 billion.
Something like that. I
When-
think
when
my
you're-
wife said something about like they didn't draw the ticket or something though.
Yeah, I don't know, security issues, but it's 1.7, 1.9. Do you know what bothers me about the lottery? Can I just rant for a second?
Yeah.
I said we often talk about diffusing money, right? Making sure everybody has money. But you ever think about that? The lottery is a concentration of wealth. You take everybody's money and you give it to one person.
That,
I'm just saying.
You should be in politics.
I'm just saying. There's something ironic there.
You know the bad thing about the lottery?
And then they tax you on that. I'm like.
Neither one of us can win because we don't play, right?
I don't play.
But my wife plays, so I'm holding out hope.
By the way, did anybody out there play the lottery?
Yeah,
Come
put
on.
it in the chat.
Come
Yes
on.
or no? Did you play the lottery?
Just put one yes,
Put it in
zero
the
no.
chat.
Be open. Who's out there?
We got a thumbs down from Tanner. Yeah, he says no way he didn't play the lottery. No way.
I worked for Hoosier Lottery for 15 years. 10 tickets, no money, says Chris. Walter Wagers. Yeah, with a last name like that, you know you're going to play the lottery.
$330 worth of Powerball. Holy smokes.
Hey, I love Sean. Sean Wilson, we're friends. I'm just saying. If something happens, keep me in mind. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. We got Christina Lucero out there. Where's Christina? Is she in the car? I think she's in the car.
She is in the car.
Yeah, man, I think she's in the car.
Obviously, the greatest name in sales, Brian B. Sellers, is with us. I mean, how could you
do
fail?
you like that guy?
Brian Sellers.
I've never met the guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
Is he? How long has he been around?
He's been around a while. He keeps going to President's Club, Chairman's Club trips, all that. He's already
Look,
qualified
he's
for
holding
President's
fingers
Club.
up saying, yeah, this is how many times I did it.
There you go.
All right,
there you go.
Apparently so.
He wears that gold jacket.
And there's,
by
the way, I see, who do you see? I see Dawn Marie. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you...
Dawn Marie, I'm going to connect you with Victor after the call because he's about a potential candidate in Phoenix for us.
Yeah, there you go.
So make sure you hit me up on that.
Right.
I see the GOAT from Dallas.
The GOAT from
Brian Cedric McDearman, another President's Club all-time winner all the time.
All right, man, let me see who else is out there. We got our man Gordon out there. Gordon, always just making sure we're on track all the time, which I appreciate.
I see some of these dudes, this no-shave November thing.
Yeah, who's that?
I think they're all trying to catch up with Sam Burke's
Yeah, there's a lot
mustache. I
of
think that's what it comes down to.
Omar's looking real cool. Omar Mendoza's looking cool, like he's about to run out the office after this is all done. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Baby, let's go. Let's do this thing, man.
I see Damon out there, outstanding. There's Tarantella. Tarantella, he must not do anything but watch us be on TV.
Yeah, he's bored, man. And there's my man Kurt Elvis Presley Lechner, man. Baby, get the burns going. Get the burns going, man.
Amen.
I think you should put like an Orkin logo in that burn, man. Just kind of carve it in there. You know what I mean? Just kind of do it.
So we asked them to put in the chat. Nobody pays attention to the chat.
No.
We asked them to put in their favorite Thanksgiving item, right?
Yeah, I'm like...
I'm pumpkin pie. We already talked about that.
Yeah, I told you. Okay.
Listen to this story. He told this morning. I want to disown him as a friend.
No, I'm just saying, I've never really... By the way, I love the meaning of Thanksgiving. Okay, I just want to be clear here, so I don't want to get any negative feedback. But my family's from Puerto Rico, right? So every time we would have our spread, it was never really about the turkey. It was about the pasteles, the rice, the beans, the pernil, the pork, and all that stuff. The turkey was like, we worked around the turkey. The turkey's not my jam, and neither are yams. Ooh, what a rhyme. Dude, I got that rhyme down. Right?
You should be in that Snoop Dogg commercial, I think.
But it was like, by the way, if you're Spanish out there and you feel me, let me know, okay? So I don't feel all alone here. So
we got some dressing.
Matt says, thanks for giving...
Jason Sager says the Lions football games.
Yeah.
There's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that, right?
By the way, I can go for a Kurtz here. I'll go for the sweet potato, Kurt. I'll go for that. I can do that. I'll go for the sweet potato. Dawn. Oh, my God, Dawn. Family. Oh, my, yeah.
Oh, she's pulling at the heartstrings.
Yeah, she's pulling at the heartstrings.
Pulling at the heartstrings. I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
All right,
Anybody else? Nikki Euler's just smiling. She doesn't know what she eats. Turkey leg. Ooh.
By the way, who's this? Nathan Mouton?
Mouton. Houston. What'd he put in there?
Serious, man. He's just looking serious at the camera. Like,
oh, gotcha.
And he's got the fan spinning above his head, I can tell. So I think he's kind of a cool dude. I don't know. He looks serious, man.
See, we're getting some. I see that turducken thing in there. I never understood what that was.
What's a turducken?
It's a
turducken?
Turkey stuffed with a chicken and a duck.
No.
You never saw that thing with John Madden on TV when the Thanksgiving?
No.
Yeah, that
What's
turducken.
Is that real?
Roxanne put it up there. I think it's like
Roxanne,
a big deal down in like the New Orleans
Roxanne, what
area.
is that? What's a turducken? I'm asking seriously.
I'm telling you, it's
I've never heard
duck
that phrase.
Stuffed inside a chicken.
No, you don't do that. That's like, no, it isn't.
Somebody tell me.
You do not stuff a duck into a turkey.
I got lots of guys nodding their heads yes. Gordon would know that answer.
You stuff duck.
And in the chicken, and then you put that inside the turkey. Gospel, man, gospel.
There's no way that's true. There's no way that's true.
We're gonna. You can order.
Sean said, yeah.
Gordon, send Victor,
No.
a turducken. Send him a turducken
Dude, I'm
for
gonna look that
Thanksgiving.
up. I wish we had the capability of putting up a video on that.
You don't watch football. That's why you don't know that thing about Madden. He was always made a big deal out of
Gordon
it.
says don't hate it until you try it, dude. That just sounds wrong.
Only in
It's like-
America, Adam
it's like
Humphrey.
by the way, a foul within a foul sounds foul.
It's a triple foul.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just sounds foul, man.
Probably get a
wow.
technical for that.
Oh, here it is. Matt, turducken is a dish consisting of a deboned chicken stuffed into a deboned duck, further stuffed into a... Sorry, man.
Good Dunkin' is an
No,
English variant.
It's a known as a three-bird roast. Good Dunkin' is an English variant, replacing turkey with... This is sick, man.
We've completely
Sean Wilson
lost.
says, look at my camera. I can't see your camera, Sean. Where you at?
We got to flip it. We've
I got
completely
2 minutes.
lost our.
All right, man. Let's get back.
our
Let's get
trail
back
of
to,
this.
okay, I'm gonna look this later on.
Oh, there it is.
Well, no, yeah. Really?
That's a turducken.
Oh,
That actually looks pretty interesting. Okay, so what if we? Well,
that's
it'll
not
be too late.
disturbing. I mean, by the way, raise your hand if you think that's disturbing out there. Just raise your hand if you think that's disturbing. It's just me. There you go. Even Dawn was with me. Yeah. Mark Fry's with me. And that looks wrong, man. Let's get down to business.
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
should get
disturbed.
down to
Let's
Hey, let me share some results from October. You know, this broadcast a little bit earlier, but we got the numbers pulled together, so we rushed to those. And here's what we did in commercial sales in October. And again, it's the same story. The beat just goes on and on and on. The drum keeps rolling. Total commercial sales in the month of October, 12% ahead of last year. Boom, 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 right? Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, well done.
Local commercial sales in the month of October, 8% increase over last year. Just keeps on going. And the one that just keeps ringing the bell for us is the team sales. The team sales in the month of October were up 28% over last year. So again, just across the board, just super duper success.
This time last year, what was the year over year? Now, if you
We're coming off a really strong commercial year last year.
Okay,
So I mean, it's just building on another one. The only kind of blip we had was when COVID first hit,
Right.
and all the businesses got shut
Sure,
down. We had a little bit of a blip, but we did a really good job with the Vital Clean stuff and kind of filled that gap. But since then, since
Nice.
I mean, it's just booming.
28% team. Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow,
it correlates to year to date too. 10 months through, the story's still the same. I mean,
Right.
they're almost identical numbers. I could have shared them.
Yeah.
12% over total commercial sales over last year, year to date through 10 months. 11% over in local commercial sales, year over year through 10 months. And team sales again, 23% year over year increase.
Nice.
And again, the team sales are the ones that these folks sell.
Yeah.
So we get that misnomer that they're national account sales,
Right.
but 70% of our national account sales are driven by the folks in the field working
Is
with
it that high?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are very few national companies,
Okay.
you know, our prospects or our customers,
Right.
that give a blanket, I'm going to give you all the business.
Right.
In fact, they're slim,
Okay.
but what they do is they give us kind of these hunting licenses and these opportunities.
Right.
They'll nominate us and they'll select us as a preferred vendor.
Right.
And then it's these folks' job, their boots on the street, to go out and secure those and tell that story.
Preferred vendors. Love that.
Preferred vendors,
I
yeah.
love that. Way to go.
And I think-
Congratulations.
and then obviously, this stuff is converting to profit, Victor, which is always a good thing at Orkin.
Yeah. So,
As a sales manager,
by the way, it's good everywhere, not just
it
in
is,
Orchid.
it is good everywhere. But it's especially good here. It's
Yeah.
especially good here because the only time that we ever hear anything about sales is when we're not on profit plan.
Yep.
So this is a good thing. So we're making money.
Right.
Obviously, with these kind of increases, these folks are making money. So
Nice.
it's just a happy merry-go-round going around and just continuing to grow. Everybody's making more money.
Yeah.
Things are happy. Things are really good. The stock is smoking. In the past 2 weeks, stock's gone up almost 15, 20%.
Nice.
I mean, just lifts.
Nice.
After our earnings call last month for the third quarter,
Right.
it just exploded. So Wall Street fell in love with us again.
Okay.
You know, we always perform pretty well in down times, down economies. Right now, I would match our stock against anybody's performance over the past 3 months. Just that good.
Yeah.
Case in point, I want to just stop and pause just a little bit before we move to our top producers.
Right.
You know, we talked about that program, about the stock purchase program that was launched in July, and we teased you up on that to where you can buy Rollins company stock through payroll deduction at 10% off the mark price, the sticker price when it comes off. So how it works is the period from July 1st through December 31st, the lowest of those two prices, July 1st or December 31st, the lowest of those two prices is where you buy your stock, purchase your stock at a 10% discount. So let me just kind of set the table for you and give you an idea how advantageous this has been so far. So the stock closed at $35 on July 1st. So if you take $3.50 off of that, that's the 10% discount off that purchase price. That's what you buy that stock with. So if you committed $1,000 or all the way up to $25,000, July 1st in that enrollment period to purchase in the stock, you've purchased that amount of shares at $31.50. Here's the great news. Last night, I don't know what it's doing today. I didn't check. We've been too busy. But last night, the stock closed at $41.75.
Nice.
So you automatically, right there, Victor, you picked up like a 27% gain on that stock. So the stock you bought at $31.50 is now worth $41. There's no return like that in the world.
So Gordon says it's up 0.9 cents, almost $1 today. So if I get it right, so it's like that would have been a 10%.
More than that, it's about 25%. Yeah, I mean, you're picking up $10 on 31.
That's what I'm saying. I like bucks. I like the percentage. I like bucks.
Yeah.
So $10, if I bought 1,000, that would have been 10,000.
Yeah.
Very nice, sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super program. And the reason I mention it today is you have to enroll in it early, right? So there's going to be an open enrollment period that begins December 1st and runs through December 13th. So use this month to kind of get your head together to figure out how much can I apply in there, how much can I put in there. Right. You can go all the way up to $25,000 over the whole period of next year. It has to be payroll deduction. You can't just send in $10,000 and say, give me 10,000 shares.
Right.
It comes through payroll deduction. So figure out how much you can set aside as you move into 23. You have to make that decision December 1st through the 13th. I advise you to do it. We had 2,100 folks when they opened this program up in June of this year that jumped in and started participating. Okay. The HR team has said that they're going to bring a lot more of that, a lot more information, a lot more detail in it. I'm not the financial advisor, right? Don't get me confused. If I was a financial advisor, I might not be standing here in front of you. I'd probably be retired. But just think about the advantages, the advantages of jumping into that program and figuring out what you can do. But you got to start thinking about it now so you're ready December 1st.
Through the 13th, cool.
Yeah, through the 13th.
And we've already discussed it that even though I do this for Orkin, I don't get a shot at this.
Yeah, Victor wants to, like those Gronk commercials where Gronk wants to be members of the military union.
I should be an honorary.
You're not in. You're out.
No,
you're out. You're Stu Gatz. You got nothing there.
I'm just saying, you got to fight for me, Ed.
You got nothing.
You got to fight for me, man. Apparently not.
Not there. It's reserved for Rollins employees.
All right.
So, mention the individual or the group performances. Let's recognize the top 11 performers that broke that $75,000 paid on club. And if we roll that tape, Aubrey's going to make us hungry.
There you go. Roll the tape. Nice, man.
Are you hungry?
Well, I'm hungry now. I want to eat some food. But man, we have some people from the West Coast, more people from the West Coast up there.
Absolutely.
I like to take credit for some of that. Like maybe it was my prompting to kind of get them into gear that now they're just.
You can't
I'm selling it that way, man. I'm selling it that way.
You can't take any credit for that.
I'm just selling it that way. I don't care. But anyway,
it's interesting. At the top of the charts is the one and only Chris Pierce. Chris Pierce, for you folks that don't know him, is the all-time commercial salesman at Orkin.
Okay.
If Chris is on the call, I apologize if I get this wrong, but like 34, 35 trips to President's Club.
Yeah.
And what he did, he's sneaking up on everybody. He's been the chairman of the Chairman's Club for multiple years, where he's been the #1 guy. Well, there were a couple of cats that were giving him a run for his money until this month.
Oh, he
sitting
showed
at
up?
#1. Year to date through 10 months is Chris Pierce.
Coming in from the back. Coming in from the back.
Trying to keep that big plaque in his possession. But
I got to say, I'm somewhat disappointed at Brian Sellers. I mean, I just thought, he was all cocky with the numbers. I thought he was going to pull that number up. 3rd place. I'm just saying. Come on, Brian. Game up, man. came up.
Again, another guy punched his ticket already. What's cool about this race for number one?
Yeah.
We have 4 folks already over $800,000 for the for the year. I mean, it's really close. I mean, it's going to be.
Who are the top 5 or 6?
Obviously Chris Pierce has
Right.
moved into number 1.
Right.
Jordan Bosmany
Okay.
out in D.C.
My man.
Then you got Billy Bamonte in Charlotte, and then you got Mike Candler in Michigan. They're all over 800,000.
Right.
But we still have 6 more
Right.
that are over 700. So
Who are
this
those? Who are the
this
6? Can you remember?
I don't have them all down here, but they know who they are.
Is my
This
man Brian Sellers in that 6?
I think he
Are
is.
you in
I
there?
think he is. I think
Brian,
he is.
I believe in you, brother. I believe in you, man.
Amen. Now, again, the story is the same. 11 winners,
Yeah.
7 different regions.
Well done.
A couple regions represented with two entries. The PAC commercial region has 2. The NorCal, again, 4 out in the West Coast.
Yep.
The NorCal region has 2. And then little old Michigan.
Yeah, I like
The great
it.
state of Michigan.
Yeah,
has,
2.
has 2
Michael
winners
and
there.
Bernie. Yeah, got some Midwest people in there also. Got
Guillermo?
Frank Perez?
Frank Perez, yeah.
Way to go, man. So good,
Amen.
good spread. And by the way, they do give gift cards, right?
They-
Let's remind them.
they-
Yeah.
They do give gift cards. Unbeknownst, this is Victor's whole play. He just
Push the
we
card,
pay him to
baby.
show up here, and he gives away all my money.
Yep.
But we award $100 gift cards for everybody over 85,000.
Got it.
All right. So we got a couple cats that did that. We've got Guillermo, and we got Frank Perez that'll receive $100 Amazon gift cards in their email inbox tonight, courtesy of myself, not Victor Antonio.
I'm just saying.
When he starts paying the bill, he can take credit for it. And then we have 4 dudes that are going to pick up $200 gift cards in their email box tonight. Elliot, Bryant B. Sellers,
Yep.
Jeff White from Tennessee, and then of course Chris Pierce.
Yeah.
So
By the way, you're welcome. That's what I'll say to them. You're welcome.
you got to quit taking credit for
Yeah.
that.
And by the way, Dawn has a position for me in the Southwest. So that means I got to work for Dawn just to get into this program. That's because what this comes out
There you
to.
go. There you go.
Thank you,
We
Don.
could probably figure.
Thank you.
We might figure out a spot for you anywhere you want to work.
I love it.
Then you
man.
can finally earn your
Thank
money
you,
instead of
Dawn.
giving it away.
Thank you, Dawn.
Hey, let's jump into the content a little bit. But before we do that, I kind of want to walk back. Come over here, Harvard. I kind of want to walk back a little bit. What we kind of launched in the last commercial broadcast, because I think my message got misinterpreted, and it could have been by the way I said it. We get to running so fast with these things. We don't rehearse, if you haven't figured that out yet. We just kind of feed off each other, and the first broadcast is always a little different than the second one. But in the last commercial broadcast, we talked about, and some of the feedback I got was that I was talking about not using call blocking or phone calling or phone prospecting as a resource, and that I might have poo-pooed it. Let's walk that back a little bit, Victor. So first, from my standpoint, it's an absolute necessity for our commercial sellers to get on that phone and bang away and get after it. Talk a little bit about that first, how vital a piece that is for these are true hunters. Now, these folks get maybe 10 leads a month if they get that.
Yeah, and again, I recall the context being more of, we were talking about different ways of going after them. And obviously some are more high probability than others. For example, preferred vendors are always going to be a higher probability of connecting. Cold calling will never be dead.
Amen.
I don't care how many people say that. And I've had this conversation with many companies, not just Rollins Orkin, but many companies have asked me the same thing, is cold calling dead? To which I said no. And again, you guys have access to my Sales Velocity Academy, right? In the Sales Velocity Academy, I have this system called prospecting. I know it's prospecting, but I called it prospecting system, where I talk about, using cold calling, using emails, using videos, whatever you can, whatever combination, Ed, to get the actual deal or get a meeting with a commercial vendor. So yeah, it all matters.
Yeah, and I think part of my message that kind of got misconstrued, I think, was that, I was against it, and I didn't really like the environment. One of the environments, well, two places, they had them kind of in a bullpen that we talked about,
yep.
and I didn't know if I would be comfortable in there initially. But when you walk back through that, that's great practice because you learn from others. Talk about your experience with Cardone and that group to where it makes sense to be in those rooms, and then I'll talk a little more about it.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I got a chance to do a boot camp with Grant Cardone. But one of the things I found very impressive about his environment, what he creates. First of all, there's like a 15-minute meeting right before the day gets started, and it's just a big circle where people are talking about successes. Everybody just setting mindset for the day because calls are going to be made. And so I got a chance to kind of go into their bullpen, and I mean that in a very positive way because it's a bunch of cubicles. And then people were making calls. So the good thing is you can hear what other people are asking or saying, and so you can learn from that chatter. And he also had like 2 managers on headsets where they can plug into any given call just in case anybody needed assistance or just to monitor. But so in that environment, I think everybody's comfortable hearing each other's chatter. One of the things we talked about, Ed, is that sometimes if you're insecure because you're just starting out, you don't want a lot of people hearing what you're saying. So that could be another environment where we thought, you know what, let's start you over here one-on-one training, and then we'll eventually move you into a bullpen. And I think that was kind of the things we were touching on. There's different ways of doing it, no absolutes in life.
Yeah, and I think part of the message too was, when we asked, when we told you we were going to attack blocking objections, and we asked you for feedback in the chat back in heck, it would have been August, right? Yep. The majority of the feedback that we got from our commercial account managers wasn't about blocking price objections, during the time of sale. It was about getting in the doors. I mean, it was like 5 to 1 where, I already have somebody, all those kind of things. And I think that was the message I was trying to deliver is sharpen your axe. The old Abe Lincoln, I'm going to sharpen my axe for a half hour and then cut down the tree in half the time. That was the message, is to be locked and loaded for your response when they say, I don't have somebody, or I already have somebody for 10 years, or I'm not interested, or those kind of things. So hopefully that didn't get too misconstrued, but I heard it from a couple of the markets, and they're like, we're never going to let you come back to the north again. Yeah. So I got it from the north. I got a little
scolded a little bit
from all three places.
You're like, I'm never going to let you in our bullpen again, right?
Yeah. But again, the message is the practice has to happen.
Correct.
Has to happen, and so.
And I think everybody gets that. I mean, and I think I'm going to defend you because I know you're not against cold calling. I was just saying, how do you make it a blend, and how do you kind of, especially early on? I think when new people come on board, would you guys agree with this? When new people come on board, personally, I would do this blend. I would give them some preferred vendors to call on first to build some successful momentum, and then give them some cold calls and start kind of maybe comboing that or sequencing those.
Yeah.
Just blend them in.
And it's like, even when we're talking about filling up a day, it's a mix of things, right? That keep you kind of focused and different. You wouldn't want to do the same thing. That'd be like working in an assembly line. So
I think we all understand that. So mix it up.
So that's enough on that. Hopefully I've fallen on my sword for the last time. Again, the message was, let's just get better at it, right? And let's see if we can get better at it.
There you go.
So let's jump into the topic about blocking objections. We promised you we would do that. And I think that tee up the concept of blocking objections, just a quick overview, and then we'll talk about a couple that I think come up pretty frequently for these folks.
All right. So in the Sales Velocity Academy, you can download the copy of the book Response Block Selling, which is a new approach for lowering buyer resistance, right? And in there I talk about, I'll give you the science behind why blocking objections is more effective than handling objections. And again, so I don't get in trouble like Ed in this case. I don't want people to say, I'm Victor. You say I don't have to handle objections. Of course you have to learn how to handle objections. But you also, if you can block them and prevent them, that's even better. So here's what you'll find in the program, is that if a potential buyer speaks an objection, the science will show you that they're less likely to change their mind. Let me say it again. If they declare it, they voice it out loud, they're less likely to change their mind. If I say your price is too expensive, that's it. I've taken a position. Now we have to kind of, we're on the defensive trying to figure out how to answer this. But when you bring up the objection, you raise the objection, now you control the conversation. So simply put, blocking objections is much easier than actually handling the objection or trying to overcome it.
Yeah, amen. And I think that we got to kind of fine tune that a little bit, right? So, we're going to get the objection of price. We work at Orkin, right? Particularly commercially, right? And most of the business that they're chasing, again, whatever the counts they're getting in leads, we get very few inbound calls. They're not going out to folks that are calling us, so we're chasing them. So we know we've got to overcome, the gap replacement, as I call it. We got to replace the current vendor, and then we got to cover that gap, and that gap typically is price.
Correct.
So let's try to tackle that one first, and talk about when might be the appropriate time to spin that up that we're going to be more money.
Well, and we'll talk about two different scenarios. So let's talk about blocking the price objection. And again, in the book, there's 23 different scripts for 23 typical objections. Warning, never raise an objection that rarely comes up, right? So you don't want to insert that in the conversation. But in there, you can, by the way, in the book, you can actually kind of reword the script. So what I'm about to tell you is just a general script. You'll change it. But here's how you raise an objection. It's very easy, right? Many of our clients tell us that we're more expensive than our competitor. Just by saying that, you raise the objection. But something interesting happens psychologically in the buyer's brain, is that because you raised the objection, they're thinking, first of all, I'm glad he raised it or she raised it because that's what I was thinking. But because you raised it, you now control it. So you built a little bit of trust actually by actually inserting the objection. So you insert the objection. Many of our people think that we're more expensive than our competitor. Then I offer to resolve. That's the second part, the second step. And I say, well, let me show you why in the long run you'll be saving more money or why we're more effective at doing what we do. Third step, you demo something. And then the fourth step is to actually tie down the objection by saying, based on what I've shown you, can you now see either why we're more expensive and in the long run it's going to save you money, or why being more expensive is really not true because we can actually save you more money. And then again, you control that narrative. Then the question becomes, I'll throw this back to you, Ed, is when do you insert pricing or raise the objection of pricing? I give that to you.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple spins on that. First, an example of not to bring up price as an objection is when you're upselling a current customer, right? They've got flies, or they got birds, or they got another service. They need some ActZyme treatment. You don't want to cover the price objection because they're already a customer, right? So you wouldn't serve up that, hey, typically we're a little bit more money than everybody else. So you wouldn't do that. I think it comes down to it's a comfort level, right? And we kicked this around in the first broadcast. When do you serve up that we're going to be more money, right? You want to try to push that out and nudge that out onto the table, but when do you do that? I think that's a conversation. I think certainly you got to address it immediately if it comes up from them.
Right.
Well, is this going to be a lot more money? Is this going to be that? And I think that becomes not maybe the blocking objection, but the frame and price piece of it.
That's correct.
To where if they tease it out, well, man, how much is this going to cost? You got to address it then. So talk just a bit about frame and price if they serve it up to you.
If they serve it up early, that means you have to address it early. So in other words, and by the way, I'm telling you guys something you already know. Just want to put the emphasis on it. And that is, if somebody says, hey, how much is this going to cost, right? And immediately what their brain is just yelling, that primal part of the brain, the amygdala is yelling, how much? That flight or freeze part of the brain. And so by giving the customer a range, basically say, well, it's going to be from up here to down here. That's usually my sequence if they ask. And by giving somebody a frame, a price frame, actually calms down that part of the brain. Now, the worst thing you can do is, well, I don't really know yet, let me look. And again, if that's your strategy, that's your style, and you like that style, go for it. But I'm thinking by framing, it always calms the person's brains down. And then you begin to do the walkthrough, right? Or lever the inspection. And I think, talk about because what you said earlier I think was interesting about creating value through the walkthrough and the inspection.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to you need to earn the right to block the objection. You just can't use the language however you script it and make it your own. You just can't throw that out on the mound like you're throwing your glove out and they're going to fold and they're going to sign up. I think you got to earn that right commercially because you're going to be higher. You have to demonstrate that you're going to deliver some real separation or some real difference. And a lot of the stuff is the walkthrough, right? One of my favorite things to do when I'm doing a commercial inspection is one I think that separates me from everybody is, how do I get on your roof? Yep. I got to get up on your roof, and they're like, well, nobody else has ever gone on my roof. So you start to build value, right? So
Absolutely.
The reason that I get on a roof to do a commercial inspection has nothing to do with the bazillion bugs I can find up there. I simply do it to create separation because the other cats aren't doing it, right?
There you go.
So you do that. And then I shared the story in the first broadcast about riding around with an account manager about 15 years ago, and we roll up to this gold medal facility, and they got like 120 bait stations. And so my man tells me, he says, Victor, he said, Ed, typically I check every one of these stations, right? I'm going to inspect every one of these. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you worked your tail off to get that appointment. Why would you leave any stone unturned? That one you skip, maybe that one that gives you that shot that says, oh my gosh, my program's in trouble. So I think, and Mike Palermo popped in after the broadcast from Atlanta. He's on the first one and shared one, right? He said, ask them for their logbook. That's those kind of questions. And we've talked about the next broadcast. We're going to, I guess, talk about questions that you serve up that that if they can't answer, it gives you an advantage. I call it kind of the truth serum kind of product. But think about those. You got to earn the right. Spending twice as much time on your inspection as the current technician doing their service today spends. So you're like, oh my gosh, like you were gone for 45 minutes. Because oftentimes commercially, they don't go along with you. They kind of send you on your way. That's why you got to be really good with your camera and your iPad and your graph. Does what you present create that separation so you can earn the right to say, Bubba, we're more money. Yeah. And by God, if I haven't showed you yet, I'm going to show you now. And I think that's part of it.
I love it's almost like creating visual value. If I can give it a phrase, visual value. When they see you doing stuff, maybe going the extra mile, taking the extra time. And I love Mike's requesting the logbook to see what's in there, because you're always going to find something, some type of discrepancy, and that's where you can ask the customer, what about this? Did they look at this? Did they do this? And I think that's a great strategy.
First off, they might not even have one, right? So they're like,
true.
What's a logbook? Well, we don't have one of those. Let me tell you. Asking them a simple question like, how many outside bait stations do you have? If they don't know that answer,
right?
Well, that's kind of weird because our system keeps an inventory of that in our Insight, and we know how many you have in place.
And the psychology behind that's pretty interesting, right? Because if I ask you a question you don't know the answer to, I start destabilizing, that's a good phrase, destabilizing your confidence in your current vendor. And I
Absolutely.
think that's the power, the psychological power of that.
You get into an account. How often does the local manager come and sit with you and review your program?
Yeah.
A lot of times that answer is no.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
What if you built that in? You know,
It's almost like if you get 4 or 5 I don't know, you begin to feel that destabilization. In other words, when we talk about getting them to switch over, that really puts you in a better position.
And remember, we're talking about the folks that never called us. You hunted them up, you cold called them, you got on the phone, you worked your way through your bullpen, and you got an appointment with them, and they're just, okay, I guess this gal was good enough to, I'm going to give them an audience. Now it's showtime, baby.
Yeah,
You know, it's
I love
showtime.
it. I love it. That's a great strategy. Mike's on it.
Yeah. So getting back to blocking the objections, when you do it, I've always been kind of the mindset, you know, obviously if it comes up, you're going to frame it and you're going to do everything you can to create this visual separation like we just talked about. But oftentimes I would talk about, you know, me being a little bit more money before I started to share, you know, my findings and my solutions, before I launched into to my deal, right? And again, you find your place and your time to do it and your way to do it. You know, Victor and I are just two guys sitting down here in Atlanta. I think we have our own ideas about it, but I think it's important to understand when you do it. And that's when, that's my preferred way that, you know, typically, you know, Mr. Victor, we charge a little bit more money for this, and, you know, hopefully I've demonstrated some of that already for you, that you've seen some difference, and now I'm going to share the solutions and then roll it into the, you know, the triple options at the end and giving them the chance to pick what they want to buy.
When do you use it, Ed? You, like, you know, and we'll compare notes.
Right before I launch into.
Just, that's it. That's your.
That's the ideal. And again, it'll change and it'll be different for everybody out there, but that's kind of the sweet spot that I've used both residentially and commercially to kind of seed that price if it hasn't come up already. Oftentimes you will have already addressed it.
Love it, man. Matt Bascom has something. He says, that's a good idea. I like that. I'm always looking for a way to separate myself from everyone else. I hadn't thought of that before. Nicely. Brian Suller says, Victor, can I get an autographed copy? Let me think about it, Brian.
You know, typically when people, that's another script, right? So the other thing that I think one of the objections that we need to figure out how to block is one that often doesn't come up, and we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this in previous broadcasts. I am of the belief that particularly on our creative appointments, when you've gone out and you've drummed up the business and you've got this appointment and you've gone in there and you got the opportunity to kick the tires, do the inspection, put your killer presentation together, I think more often than not, people choose to do nothing. And we've talked about that indecision or no decision. And we've talked about that a lot, and I think that comes down to making them comfortable with not only the price, you've kind of covered the price, but the transition. I think that oftentimes gets more in the way of making deals than paying a few more dollars. I really do, because they've got that not comfortable. So talk about that. Again, I know we've talked about it before, but I think it's important to understand that that's something we got to block. They may not say it, and again, that's one I think that lurks in the back of all of our purchasers, particularly in creative situations. If they got a lead and they call you because they got roaches and the health department just closed them down, they got to do something, right? But these folks are chasing most of the time, they don't have to do anything. You know, they've had Johnny in there doing it for 10 years, and while they love what you've got, they're just hesitant to change. So talk a little bit about that.
I think the combination of what Mike brought up about the logbook, right? Asking questions. What about this? What about this? And the customer says, I don't know. I never really thought about it. Never asked me. I never noticed. You begin to destabilize their foothold, so to speak, with their existing vendors. So I think that's a great, let's just call that the left jab. The knockout punch then becomes, how do you get them over to the, let's make the change? Because in their mind, beyond price, it's not really usually price. Beyond price, it's usually the perceived effort. That's a great phrase. The perceived effort of switching over. And our job is to reduce that perceived effort. In other words, look, it's really this easy. Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, and then we switch over. And if you can reduce that perceived effort, people are more likely to switch over. But going back to Mike's example, if I can destabilize them, right, with the, how about this? Have they checked this? Have they done this? Have you done this? No, I don't know. That begins the destabilization. Then the switch over is by reducing how difficult it is to switch over, the perceived effort. Reduce that friction, if I can put it that way.
Amen. And we will do that in the next broadcast. Break some of those examples down on how you kind of make their program look bad without saying your baby's ugly, right? And let them come to that conclusion all on their own.
That's the way to do it.
But I think part of the success in overcoming that indecision is talking through the transition, you know? And simply I tee that up at the end before I share the solutions by spinning our triple guarantee and talking about, hey, you know, at Orkin, we figured out a long time ago, it's not easy to change vendors. And that transition period can be somewhat difficult, you know, for changing vendors. You got
By
to
the way,
introduce them.
nice raising of an objection, right? Just saying that.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy.
We
switching.
know.
We know.
Yeah,
There
we
you go.
know. At Orkin, we figured out it's not easy for you to change vendors.
Yeah.
You know, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hold your hand through the transition. You know, I'm going to be here. I'm going to introduce you to the tech. You know, blah blah blah. Figure out how you spin that, make that your own. And then the other thing we do, you know, what I'm most proud of is the way that we do business, Victor. We put our money where our mouth is. And think about this. Think how I'm going to break this down. So, you know, we're going to share some more questions next time. But I use the triple guarantee by simply telling them, look, we alleviate or mitigate all your risk. We simply tell you if you're not completely satisfied with the service and the results that service renders after 60 days, we'll give you all your money back. And you can break that down any way you want. I've put plenty of videos out on how to spin that, very lengthy. But just think about that. So you tell them we're going to hold their hand
Right.
in your own way, in your own words.
Your own way.
And you tell them that there's no risk
Right.
by coming to us. Try us for 60 days. If you're not completely satisfied, we'll let you bring Ecolab back in. In fact, we're going to pay their bill. So something along those lines.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to
I
go
love
into a you know,
Yep.
5-minute spin on the guarantee. You know, if you're on my YouTube channel, there's 5 or 6 of those spins out there.
Yep.
But again, getting over that, making them say, okay, maybe it's not so bad. So if this all goes
Yeah.
to heck in a handbasket, I can go back to who I got.
Yeah. So I love the way you put it, because you said first it's like, okay, block the objection, right? We know how difficult it is, right?
Yeah.
And then the second part you did is you shaped the path.
Yeah.
You say, here's how it works. Here's how it's going to work, right?
Yeah.
Reduces their anxiety. And then the third part with the triple guarantee is you mitigate the risk. You just de-risk it.
Absolutely.
And so again, this is backed by science. This is the study by Tether. They looked at 2.5 million calls. And one of the strategies they found that works, of the best top performers, is you de-risk the deal. You take away the risk. And your triple guarantee, the way you're setting it up, Ed, is de-risking the deal. So it's not theory. It's based on an analysis of 2.5 million calls.
Amen. And,
Yeah.
and as we're talking through that, one comes up, a question I always ask commercial folks and, you know, potential clients. It's just simply this. It's, you know, typically if you get a flare up in between services,
Right.
you know, does your guy get there, you know, within a couple days, 3 days?
Yeah. Oh,
And
good question.
Seeding it like that,
Yeah.
do they typically get here within 2 or 3 days? Oh yeah, he gets here in a couple, 3 days. Knowing full well that we're going to fall back when we get to that triple guarantee, that we're going to call you in 2 hours, we're going to be on site in 24, contractually guaranteed. So you seed those things in
Yes.
to build your case, because they know this is a big hurdle, right? You got to get over this stuff.
But if I could just interject, what's powerful, because it's powerful if you just kind of get it. If you tell somebody, we're gonna be here within 2 to 4 hours.
Call them between two hours.
Call them between 2 to
On-site,
4 hours,
24.
3 or 4, right? On site. And so if you tell them that, there is no real value there. But when you ask a question like, you know, how often or how long does it take for them to and they say, I don't know. Or they'll say 2 to 3 days. Now when you throw in what Orkin does differently, now it has value. And it's subtle, but it's powerful if you position it that way.
And when you're breaking down their program, right? We'll dive deeper into this.
Yeah.
You know, is it the same guy or the same gal that comes every week or every month? And you'll flesh out. Well, no, we've had a couple technicians over the last 2 years, and you got in your hip pocket, you got Tim Lamont, who's been the commercial technician in Warren, Ohio for 28 years.
Yeah.
So you got that to play, right?
Yeah,
So
I love
so
that.
you think about, I call them questions that pump out the information that you want to position our offer. That will just, oh yeah, I don't have that, I don't have that, I
Right.
don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, the same question, I think I already talked about it. It could have been the last broadcast. How often does a member of the management team from the company come and sit with you to review your program and review progress? You know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
How often, you know, do you see, other than the technician,
Yeah.
do you see? Does he check in and check out with you, you know?
By the way, this is great. This is great, like training sequence fodder for new people coming on board.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. You ask a question, destabilize their certainty, then you tell them what we do. And it just continues on and on. It's very brilliant.
And by the time, if you do this right, I think you've got 4 or 5 things that you've positioned.
Yeah.
You know, you went on the roof. You know, you ask questions about how quickly they how quickly they respond. You know, do they comp meals? You know, for your guests, those kind of things. You build a case of 5 or 6 of them. So when
you're stacking value, man.
well,
you just start stacking
when you go
value.
sit, you know, you say boom, 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 and you recall their answers and you pull them back in.
Yeah, I love
Make
it.
sense?
Makes sense.
Anything else in there?
No,
Who's
that's it.
Who's talking M&M?
I have no idea what the M&M reference
what is that
was.
all
I
about?
totally missed that. I got nothing. Okay.
Oh,
Aubrey knows what it means. What does it mean, Aubrey?
At the end of the movie, when he gets a battle rap, he told the other guy everything bad about himself.
Oh, yeah, that's-
Didn't have anything to say.
That's right. I do remember that.
is right.
I do remember that.
That is
and
right.
the guy just said, "I don't want to rap." That's
I don't know.
done.
Maybe Jason Sager knows. Eminem was a customer for a long time up in the D.
Really?
I think he still is.
Look, you're so hip. Up in the D. He's so hip.
I knew
Up in the
I knew
D.
his technician for a long time ago. So put that in the chat, Jason, if he's still a member
Very cool.
or client. Anything else?
I think I'm done. I know they want to go out and sell some more.
Yeah, they're going to go sell some more. Just 3 housekeeping things for you, then we'll get you out of here. I sent out the President's Club numbers and the year-to-date numbers for all of you. I think I sent that Monday night or Sunday night. So dial into that, see where you're at for President's Club. We don't want you missing President's Club or, more importantly, Chairman's Club by any amounts of dollars. You got 2 months to finish that up. And then, as you know, you account managers, you're commissioned in 2023 based on the level of performance you deliver in 2012 or 2022. Yeah. So make sure you're not missing any of those little bumps, those little incremental bumps that can mean 1% commission on your recurring business next year. Reminder on that stock purchase plan. And then the email I sent last night, they did it again. So the folks in IT, they came in and they forced everybody's screen to go to Orkin, right?
Right.
And I've been coaching folks to personalize your screen. So I shared an email with them on how to do that. So when I sit down and open up my
cute.
phone, somebody says, "Oh, those are what beautiful kids."
Yeah, they are
and there's a
really-
whole story. So
Yeah.
so you personalize it instead of saying some Orkin. So if you haven't done that yet, spend the 5 minutes it does to reface both of these. Both of these.
Yeah.
Reface them and take the time.
That's
And I
clever.
promise you, the
That's
IT
subtle.
folks have promised me they will never flip it back.
Yeah.
They'll never flip it back.
Put the kids, the dogs, and the cat
The
on
dogs,
there.
the cats, the fiance, whoever.
Let me see.
Anything?
Jason said, we still service M&M. Way to go.
There you go. There you go.
Love it, man. You know what I think?
What a
I'm gonna
great
say-
ride along, right? Although it's probably limited, right? You're probably not allowed to go up
I
there.
want to just throw a curveball at you here, just live. I think we should have how they have like fantasy football. How you pick your teams or the players for a team.
Yeah.
I think we should get a list of the top 10, 20, 30, 40 sales folks, and you and I should pick who will make the top 5. And then
for the
whoever's
next
got
time.
the most top 5s, you and I have a bet.
That's a good bet, and
think so.
then we'll pay off our teammates.
Yeah. Well,
We'll do that next time.
all right, good.
We'll do that next
All
time.
right, man. I got
All
nothing
right?
else.
Again, just appreciate all you're doing. Y'all are killing it, and the beach just keeps going on, and I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart and my family's heart. We're doing great things, and we just appreciate y'all.
Right. Congratulations,
See
guys.
y'all.
See you.